Okay, hi guys. I'd like to talk now about my thoughts about the coronavirus and in terms of astrology and predictions, because I did predict that there might be a virus outbreak stemming from China. And a couple of my subscribers, this is for you, MK, have been asking, would I do an update? So when we last had the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, that coincided with the bubonic plague outbreak in St. Petersburg and Moscow, but it was very much contained within Russia. And when I've looked at the Spanish flu, which started end of 2018 and sort of went through to, not 20, end of 1918, going through to 1920, the planetary configurations were different, and that started during a Saturn opposite Uranus conjunction running from Saturn was in Leo, Uranus was in Aquarius. So the planetary configurations were a little bit different. So I think maybe similar to the bubonic plague outbreak in Russia, it will be contained within one country, maybe two major cities in China, rather than spreading to the rest of the world. And at the moment, most of the people who are contracting it are Chinese, have been in Wuhan. So there are a couple of other facets I'd like to have a look at about this. First of all, the response seems enormous for something that right now is just a flu, because the mortality rate is 2%. So while it seems rather infectious in that a lot of people are getting it quite quickly, we see the numbers going up every year. Each and every year, thousands of people, particularly the elderly, the vulnerable, people with underlying health conditions, do pass away from influenza in the UK, in every country, which is why they encourage people to go and have the vaccine so much, because to cut down on the rate, because flu is a killer. So right now, unless this becomes mutates and becomes more deadly, right now it's just like a normal flu where most people should be unaffected, even if it is kind of infectious. So I'm not quite sure why there is so much emphasis on this, probably just because it's a new flu. There's also it's curious whether it actually stemmed from the live meat market or the fish market, because out of the first sort of 11 people that got it, some of them had had no contact with the fish market at all. And a lot of people have pointed out that there is a kind of bioweapons bioresearch lab in Wuhan. Other people have pointed out that it's one of the main cities that have gone full 5G in China. Now, I don't see how those two would be related. Obviously, that becomes a little bit conspiratorial. What else I'm thinking about it, which is rather strange, is we have had the people evacuated from the UK. Obviously, America's evacuated their citizens. All these evacuees have been put into quarantine for 2 weeks, 14 days. However, there are still flights coming in to Heathrow or LaGuardia, wherever, of China Airlines every day. Now, these people could have been in Wuhan or anywhere throughout China, and they're not being put into quarantine. Perhaps they're being screened, but there's no quarantine. So it seems rather odd that the evacuated citizens of other countries are being quarantined, whereas other airlines, of course, have stopped their flights, but Chinese Air is still flying into countries with loads of people who we don't know if they've had contact with the virus or not. So what I'm thinking is, astrologically, I do feel that a pandemic of some sort is coming. I don't think this is actually it, but I do feel the authorities are using it as a dry run. And the way China has got the cities on lockdown, almost exerting martial law, it's something only a communist regime could do. But the world may point to that. Other governments in the world may point to the way the Chinese handled this for future epidemics and say, well, that was a good idea. That was a good template. Look how well it worked. We should do that too. Whereas right now, there's no example to follow, and it wouldn't be easy to organize that in a non-communist country. The other thing I'd say is it's very similar to when we had a Chernobyl, like I used that example. Communist governments always crack down on information. They always want to underplay how bad things were. And that's what they did with Chernobyl. We were in total denial about it. And I think the Chinese government, to a degree, may be suppressing the true death rate, the true figures on this, because they are also in denial, but they also realize that a crisis like this can snowball out of control and can create instability in the country and maybe even be a threat to the control they have, just like the Chernobyl crisis was partly due to the way the whole Soviet Union unraveled, because people got to see, wait a minute, our government are incompetent. They're not in control. They really don't know what they're doing. It undermined the whole system. And that's why the bureaucracy and the middle class, who were gaining so much from the Soviet system, tried their hardest to suppress the whole Chernobyl thing, because they knew that once word got out that it was really bad, it would just undermine their whole system. And I think with the Chinese as well, there's every reason and incentive they have to suppress this, to suppress the information on this, not only to preserve their economy, which must be suffering under this, but also to preserve their power and control, because a major crisis like this, a major virus, could cause panic, could cause the whole system to collapse. You never know. I do think what's going on here as well, it's like I say, it's a dry run. It's a total crackdown to create a template for other countries to possibly follow in future. I do think that the whole Ebola thing that's going on right now has been underplayed. Apparently, America has an Ebola vaccine ready. Maybe it's going to be Ebola that's the real crisis, and obviously the death rate from Ebola is 70%, much higher than this. But maybe people are just trying out their strategies, like with stopping the airlines and whatnot, in order to get ready for a bigger crisis on the way, because I do feel governments around the world are almost in a state of readiness for a bigger crisis and are using this as a trial run. This is also quite interesting because it could be what tips the whole world economy into recession as well, because we've all seen this big global recession coming, especially with Saturn-Pluto conjunction Capricorn. There has to be an enormous correction. This could have been part of what's going to set it off. So economically and whatever, there are a whole lot of different things playing into this. In a way, it reminds me a bit of Novovirus, where on one hand, they were burning the tables at Pizza Hut. And hi there. Oh, thank you, Ori. I've never seen that symbol before. Thank you for that. Lisa, all those chat will be available on your channel. Correct. Lost you previously. Sorry, I don't know. So I'll have to look up and see what happened there. Sorry, Bosnia. So anyway, yes. Sorry, where did I get to with that? I was saying, like with Novichok, they went from burning the tables and the clothing the staff had been wearing in Pizza Hut, total overkill there, to telling people, oh, well, just use baby wipes to wipe off your handbag or your sunglasses or whatever you had with you at the restaurant. And I feel there's this also kind of thing going on here, where on one hand they're going totally overboard. It's a whole lot of melodrama. It's a total overreaction. And on the other hand, they just allowing these Air China flights to breeze in, and they're not doing anything at all. So one wonders how seriously they're really taking it. I mean, me, myself, I would say to all of you guys, get in your colloidal silver, take your vitamin C and your vitamin D3, definitely to prepare yourself. That's great for your immune, and definitely take coenzyme Q10, because that's fantastic for keeping you healthy and warding off flus and viruses. So whatever this is, that can help you stay healthy. So my thoughts on it is it will be contained within China. It won't be a big pandemic or a big spread, but there could, let's be complacent, because there could be something coming down the line which could be deadlier and bigger. And I feel that those in the know that something's going to come, and they're using this as a dry run, and they're also using this to test out martial law in China. But of course, we shouldn't totally underestimate this, because the Chinese government, whatever is going on, there's absolutely no doubt that they will be underplaying this and just playing it down. So it's good to take a cautious approach. Okay, guys, just to let you know, I'm definitely going to be doing an update on Spain, and I believe they had some local elections in Italy today. And if Lega Nord do really well, it could help Matteo Salvini grab control of the government there and create a strong, make Italy great again movement, because as you know, he was sidelined because of previous elections. So I'm definitely going to be talking about Spain, because they finally formed a government which is quite far to the left. We'll see what's happening there. Germany, and I'll also be talking about some things going on in India and how I think this is going to be a crucial year for India. I did say the Pluto-Saturn conjunction in Capricorn signified to me the rise of India as a superpower. So just going to be doing some stuff on that. And I want to be looking at Jupiter in Capricorn and all the kind of things that could mean coming up. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Ore N. I'm just going to have a look. 3 euros? Fantastic. Thank you.